care, comes a point in your life where caring too much becomes your biggest prison. Caring too much about what people think, caring too much about who approves, caring too much about who stays and who leaves, one of the greatest sources of stress, anxiety, and fear in life comes from the simple act of caring too much about what other people think. From a young age, you are conditioned to seek approval. Teachers, friends, family, society, you're taught to measure your worth by how many people clap for you, how many agree with you, how many validate the choices you make. But at some point, that need for approval becomes a cage. It starts controlling you instead of guiding you. The truth is, most of the people you're afraid of disappointing aren't even thinking about you. They're busy with their own insecurities, their own fears, their own battles. But because you've given so much power to their opinions, you start shrinking yourself to fit into their expectations. You stop taking risks because you fear judgment. You hold back your ideas because you fear criticism. You bury your dreams because you fear being misunderstood. You must understand something deeply. People's opinions are reflections of their own limitations, not your potential. When someone tells you something can't be done, what they really mean is they can't see themselves doing it. And when someone laughs at your dreams, it is because they don't have the courage to pursue their own. When someone criticizes your progress, it is usually because your growth exposes their lack of effort, and yet you keep caring. You care about how you look, how you sound, how you act. You care if they talk, if they judge, if they misunderstand. But what has caring ever given you? Has it given you peace? Has it given you confidence? Has it helped you reach your goals? No, it has only slowed you down, made you second guess yourself, and dimmed your light so others can feel comfortable. Imagine what your life would look like if you stopped caring, truly stopped caring. Imagine how many decisions you would make boldly. Imagine how many risks you would take without hesitation. Imagine how much time and energy you would save if you stopped trying to be acceptable and started being authentic. When you stop caring about opinions, you stop living your life for the approval of the crowd and start living it for the purpose within you. You begin to make choices based on who you want to become, not who they want you to be. You gain a kind of freedom that cannot be bought. Freedom from the fear of judgment, freedom from the pressure of expectation, and freedom from the noise of other people's voices. And here's the environment you stop caring about being like is the moment people start respecting. The moment you stop chasing approval is the moment you gain influence. The moment you stand firm in who you are is the moment the world begins to notice your strength, because confidence is magnetic, self-respect is powerful, authenticity is rare. So when you let go of people's opinions, you're not becoming rebellious, you're becoming real. You're choosing to listen to your own voice above the crowd. You're choosing to value your own vision over outside noise. You're choosing to live a life that reflects your truth instead of someone else's expectations. Your mental peace is not just a luxury, it is the foundation of every decision you make, every relationship you maintain, and every goal you pursue. When your mind is calm, you think clearly. When your mind is stable, you move with confidence. When your mind is protected, you grow without constantly fighting invisible battles. But when your peace is disturbed, everything in your life becomes heavier, harder, and more draining than it needs to be. Most people don't realize how valuable their peace is until they lose it. You lose it when you allow negativity to enter your space. You lose it when you tolerate people who constantly drain your energy. You lose it when you say why to things you want to say no to. You lose it when you take on responsibilities that were never yours to carry. Protecting your peace means becoming brutally honest with yourself about what lifts you up and what tears you down. It means recognizing who brings calmness into your life and who brings chaos. It means noticing what thoughts empower you and what thoughts exhaust you. You can't move forward with a peaceful mind if you keep surrounding yourself with stress, noise, and emotional clutter. And let's be clear, protecting your peace is not selfish. It is necessary. You can't be strong for others if you're constantly drained. You can't build your future if your mind is fighting storms every day. You can't grow if you're always absorbing negativity from the environment around you. Your mental peace is the oxygen mask you put on before you can help anyone else. Without it, everything else starts falling apart. Sometimes protecting your peace means stepping away from people you love. Sometimes it means deleting conversations that trigger you. Sometimes it means distancing yourself from environments that remind you of old pain. Sometimes it means saying no without explaining why. You owe no one justification for prioritizing your well-being. You must understand that not everyone deserves access to your mind, your time, or your emotions. Some people only bring problems, never solutions. Some people only call when they need something. Some people inject negativity into your life without even realizing it. And every time you allow this, you sacrifice a piece of your peace for the sake of keeping the peace with others. For protecting your peace also means mastering your internal world. It means learning how to control your reactions instead of reacting to everything around you. It means choosing not to argue with people committed to misunderstanding you. It means refusing to let small inconveniences turn into emotional storms. It means understanding that not everything requires your attention, your energy, or your involvement. When you protect your peace, you begin to see life differently. You stop rushing, you stop competing, you stop comparing, you stop forcing things that clearly drain you. You begin to choose quality over chaos. You begin to choose calmness over conflict. You begin to choose clarity over confusion. Your peace becomes your filter. If it disrupts your calm, it simply does not belong in your life. One of the biggest reasons people feel overwhelmed, stressed, and unfulfilled is because they're carrying expectations that were never theirs to begin with. These expectations come from family, society, culture, friends, and even strangers. They shape the way you think, act, and choose, often without you even realizing it. And the most dangerous part is this: you start living a life that isn't yours, trying to satisfy standards that were never aligned with your true self. You were taught to achieve certain milestones by certain ages. You were taught to follow a specific path: study, work, marry, settle, behave. You were taught to fit into a box that someone else built for you. You were taught to avoid disappointing others, even if it meant disappointing yourself. But did you ever stop and ask, did I ever agree to any of this? Most of the expectations placed on you are based on other people's fears, insecurities, traditions, and limitations, not your potential. People project their own beliefs onto you, their version of success, their idea of happiness, their definition of stability. And without noticing, you begin to adopt these expectations as if they were your own. You start chasing goals that don't fulfill you, living routines that don't excite you, and holding on to identities that suffocate you. Letting go of expectations is not about disrespecting anyone. It's about respecting yourself enough to choose your own path. Expectations can feel heavy because they push you in directions that don't match your heart. You feel constant pressure to prove yourself, to be perfect, to please everyone. But no matter how hard you try, someone will always want you to be more, be different, be something else. And the more you chase approval, the further you drift from your authentic self. Letting go means releasing the invisible chains. The chain of trying to be the good one, the chain of trying to make everyone proud, the chain of trying to live up to expectations that drain your soul. You don't have to be what others expect. You don't have to follow a timeline designed by someone else. You don't have to sacrifice your desires to meet standards you never agreed to. When you free yourself from external expectations, you begin to make choices that feel right for you. Begin to listen to your inner voice, the voice that knows your dreams, your strengths, your calling. You stop forcing yourself into roles that don't fit, and you start stepping into the life that aligns with your true identity. Letting go of expectations also means understanding that you cannot control how others react to your decisions. People might feel confused, surprised, or even upset when you stop living for them and start living for yourself. But their reaction is not your responsibility. Their emotions are not your burden to carry. Their disappointment does not define your worth. What matters is this: you have the right to redesign your life. You have the right to choose a different direction. You have the right to say, this is not who I am anymore. You have the right to break free from expectations that suffocate your growth. The moment you release expectations you never chose, you create space to build a life you actually want, a life that reflects your truth, your passion, and your purpose. From the moment you begin to understand the world, you are taught directly or indirectly that your value comes from how others see you. You grow up learning to present yourself in a way that wins approval, dress a certain way, talk a certain way, behave a certain way. Before you even know who you really are, you're already performing for an audience that never stops watching, judging, or expecting. But here's the truth that most people never realize until much later in life: you were not born to impress anyone. You were not put on this earth to meet the expectations of every person around you. You are not alive to be liked, admired, validated, or celebrated by the world. Your purpose goes far beyond applause. Trying to impress people is one of the fastest ways to lose yourself, because the moment you start shaping your identity around approval, you stop listening to your own voice. You begin to filter every decision through the question, how will they think? Instead of, what do I want? You start seeking perfection instead of authenticity. You start chasing acceptance instead of truth. And nothing drains the soul faster than pretending to be someone you're not, just to earn temporary validation. The reality is, most people are too wrapped up in their own problems to care about your every move. They might judge you for a moment, talk about you for a day, criticize you for a week, but life goes on and their opinions fade. Yet you waste years trying to impress people who won't remember you in a month, let alone care about your happiness. Impressing others is a never-ending game. The standards always change. The expectations always rise. The approval never lasts, because once you impress someone, they expect more. They want you to upgrade, improve, perform again. It becomes a cycle of chasing validation that leaves you exhausted and empty. It's like running on a treadmill. No matter how fast you run, you're not moving forward, you're just wearing yourself out. You cannot please everyone. You cannot satisfy every opinion. You cannot meet every expectation, and you don't need to. The moment you realize that impressing others is a pointless battle, you start to reclaim your power. You begin to live with intention instead of pressure. You make choices that align with your heart, not the opinions of people who don't walk your path or carry your burdens. Living authentically means you stop decorating your life just to make it look good from the outside. You stop forcing yourself to fit into molds created by people who don't understand your journey. You stop dimming your personality so you don't intimidate others or stand out too much. You stop apologizing for being yourself. You're not here to prove your worth through achievements that make others clap. You're here to grow, to evolve, to experience life in a way that feels meaningful to you. Your worth isn't measured by compliments. Your identity isn't defined by opinions. Your purpose isn't limited by what others expect of you. When you finally let go of the pressure to impress, you unlock a level of freedom and confidence most people never experience. You stop worrying about how you're perceived and start focusing on who you're becoming. You stop trying to be perfect for others and start being real for yourself. Silence is one of the most underestimated strengths a person can possess. In a world where everyone feels the need to speak, argue, prove, and defend themselves, choosing silence is an act of control, confidence, and wisdom. It is not weakness. It is not avoidance. It is not surrender. Silence is the ability to remain calm when others want chaos, to remain steady when others want a reaction, and to remain focused when others want to pull you into unnecessary battles. Most people waste their energy on arguments that don't matter. They fight to be right, to win, to dominate every discussion. They raise their voice thinking volume equals strength. They speak out of frustration, anger, or ego, never realizing that none of it truly changes anything. They don't understand that reacting to everything is the fastest way to lose control over your own mind. But silence is different. Silence is intentional. It is choosing peace over proving a point. It is choosing discipline over impulsiveness. It is choosing to value your energy instead of wasting it on noise. A silence shows maturity because it means you have nothing to prove. When someone tries to provoke you and you respond with silence, you instantly take away their power. They want your anger. They want your reaction. They want you to lower yourself to their level. But silence tells them, you do not control me. You do not influence me. You do not shake me. A silence protects your dignity. Not every person deserves an explanation. Not every comment deserves a reply. Not every insult deserves a response. There is strength in walking away without defending yourself because you know that truth does not need you to fight for it. The truth stands on its own. Silence also gives you clarity when you're not busy reacting. You're observing, you're thinking, you're understanding the situation from a place of calmness instead of chaos. Silence allows you to see people for who they truly are. Their intentions, their insecurities, their motives. You learn more by listening than by speaking. You grow more by observing than by arguing. And silence isn't just about dealing with others, it's about mastering yourself. It's about learning to calm your mind, quiet your thoughts, and ground your emotions. It teaches you patience, self-control, and emotional discipline. These are qualities that separate strong minds from weak ones. Anyone can yell, anyone can argue, anyone can explode, but only the strong can stay silent and composed. Silence is also a form of self-respect. When you stop entertaining drama, gossip, meaningless debates, and toxic conversations, you send a message to the world that my peace is too precious. My energy is too valuable. My mind is not a battleground. People often mistake silence for submission because they don't understand the level of strength that it takes to hold back when every part of you wants to respond. But silence is not giving up. Silence is choosing battles wisely. Silence is conserving your power for situations that truly matter. Silence is knowing that your time and energy are too important to waste on nonsense. The truth is, silence is not empty. It is full of answers. It protects you from regret, from saying things you don't mean, from reacting in ways that don't represent who you are. Silence keeps you in control of yourself when the world tries to provoke you. When you understand the power of silence, you stop chasing the need to be understood by everyone. You stop explaining your every move. You stop fighting to be heard by people who don't deserve your voice. You stand firm, calm, and centered, letting your actions speak louder than anything you could ever say. Life becomes overwhelmingly complicated when you give your attention to everything and everyone. The truth is, not everything deserves your focus. Not every problem is your problem. Not every invitation deserves a response. Not every distraction is worth your time. And not every person belongs in the center of your life. When you focus on what truly matters, you begin to see how much of your time, energy, and peace has been wasted on things that never contributed to your growth. Most people live scattered, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. They wake up worrying about opinions, deadlines, drama, gossip, and noise. They give their energy to conflicts that don't move them forward. They chase achievements that don't fulfill them. They try to please people who don't care about them. And in the end, They wonder why they feel empty and lost. The secret is simple. What you focus on becomes your life. Your mind is like a spotlight. Whatever it shines on grows bigger and stronger. If you focus on problems, if you focus on negativity, it multiplies. If you focus on distractions, your goals fade. But if you focus on purpose, discipline, growth, and clarity, your life transforms. Focusing on what truly matters means learning how to filter out the noise. It means understanding that not every message needs a response. Not every argument needs your participation. Not every setback needs your panic. Not every opinion needs your concern. When you protect your focus, you protect your future. Most of the stress you experience comes from focusing on things you cannot control, things that are temporary, things that are meaningless in the long run. When your mind is crowded with insignificant concerns, you lose the ability to see the bigger picture. You lose the motivation to chase what matters. You lose the discipline to work toward your goals. But when you narrow your focus, when you identify what truly matters, you gain power. You gain direction, you gain clarity, you gain momentum. You begin to understand what deserves your energy and what doesn't. You start giving time to things that build you instead of things that drain you. You start prioritizing actions that move your life forward instead of holding you back. You stop scattering your efforts across 100 meaningless tasks, and you start pouring your energy into the few things that actually impact your future. Focusing on what matters also means being honest with yourself about what is worth keeping in your life. Some relationships are distractions. Some habits are distractions. Some environments are distractions. Some thoughts are distractions. You cannot focus on becoming your best self while holding on to things that pull you in the opposite direction. When you focus on what truly matters, you stop chasing instant gratification and start building long-term success. You become more intentional with your choices. You become more selective with your surroundings. You become more disciplined with your actions. And most importantly, you become more aligned with your purpose. Your focus is your power. What you give attention to, you give life to. So choose wisely. One of the hardest lessons in life is learning to choose yourself without feeling guilty, ashamed, or selfish. From a young age, you're conditioned to put others first, to be accommodating, agreeable, helpful, and self-sacrificing. You're praised when you give, when you bend, when you adjust, when you prioritize everyone else's needs before your own. But very few people teach you the importance of taking care of your own well-being. And even fewer remind you that choosing yourself is not selfish, it's necessary. The truth is, you can't pour from an empty cup. You cannot support others when you are drained, exhausted, and mentally collapsing. You cannot keep giving when you have nothing left inside. And yet, so many people push themselves to the edge because they fear disappointing others. They fear being judged. They fear being called selfish. They fear being misunderstood. So they keep saying yes when their soul is screaming no. Choosing yourself means recognizing your own needs before you collapse under the weight of everyone else's expectations. It means understanding that your emotional health is not optional. Your peace is not optional. Your boundaries are not optional. You have every right to step away, recharge, and protect your own energy without apologizing for it. You must also understand that not everyone will like it when you start choosing yourself. Some people benefited from your lack of boundaries. Some people like the version of you that never said no, never questioned, never pushed back. Some people relied on your guilt to keep you small, obedient, and available. When you begin prioritizing yourself, these people may call you rude, distant, selfish, or ungrateful, but their reaction says more about them than it does about you. Choosing yourself is not about neglecting others. It's about no longer neglecting yourself. It means saying no to things that drain you, even if others expect you to say eyes. It means stepping away from relationships that weaken you, even if people wonder why. It means prioritizing rest when your body is tired, even if the world keeps pushing you to hustle. It means leave environments that suffocate you, even if someone tries to guilt trip you into staying. You don't owe anyone your constant availability. You don't owe anyone your exhaustion. You don't owe anyone your emotional sacrifice. You don't owe anyone pieces of yourself that you cannot afford to give. When you choose yourself, you begin to understand the value of your time, your energy, and your peace. You stop giving unlimited access to people who don't treat you with care. You stop tolerating situations that drain your spirit. You stop carrying responsibilities that were never yours in the first place. Choosing yourself also means trusting your intuition, listening to the quiet voice inside that knows when something isn't right, when something feels off, when something is slowly breaking you. It means honoring your emotions instead of burying them. It means giving yourself permission to walk away from anything that threatens your inner stability. The more you choose yourself, the more you grow. The more you choose yourself, the more you heal. The more you choose yourself, the more you realize how long you've been living for everyone except you. Choosing yourself is not selfish. It is self-respect. It is self-preservation. It is self-worth in action. One of the greatest acts of strength you can ever perform is the decision to walk away. Not because you're weak, but because you finally understand your worth. Your spirit, your energy, your inner fire, these are not things you can afford to lose. Yet so many people stay in situations, relationships, and in environments that drain them daily. They stay out of habit, out of fear, out of guilt, or because they've convinced themselves that they have no other choice. But you always have a choice. The choice to protect your soul. Your inner energy determines everything. Your motivation, your mindset, your discipline, your ability to grow. When something drains you, it slowly kills your drive, your passion, and your sense of self. It chips away at you piece by piece until you barely recognize the person you've become. That is why learning to walk away is not just a skill. It is survival. There are people who drain your spirit simply by being in your presence. People who constantly criticize, complain, belittle, or take without ever giving. People who expect you to heal them while they break you. People who drain your joy just because they don't know how to create their own. People who drain your peace because chaos is the only environment they understand. Walking away from these people doesn't mean you hate them. It means you love yourself enough to stop tolerating emotional damage. Sometimes the things that drain you are not people. They are habits. Habits of procrastination, habits of negative self-talk, habits of overthinking, habits of pleasing everyone but yourself. These habits quietly steal your energy every single day, trapping you in patterns that keep you small. And the moment you walk away from them even a little, you begin to reclaim your power. Environments can drain you too. The wrong job, the wrong atmosphere, the wrong daily routine, the wrong circle of influence. When you wake up every morning feeling unmotivated, empty, or mentally exhausted, it is a sign that something in your environment is taking more from you than it gives. Staying in places that suffocate your growth will kill your potential long before failure ever does. And then there are situations you tolerate because you think things will magically improve. A one-sided friendship, a toxic relationship, a workplace that undervalues your worth, a lifestyle that doesn't align with your purpose. You keep giving chances, you keep hoping, you keep sacrificing. But deep down, you know that you're slowly losing yourself. And the hardest truth is this: you cannot grow in places where your soul is constantly shrinking. Walking away requires courage. Courage to let go, courage to disappoint others, courage to choose peace, courage to step into the unknown. But staying in a draining situation costs far more than walking away ever will. It costs your joy. It costs your self-respect. It costs your mental clarity. It costs your future. The moment you walk away from what is draining you, you make space for what will uplift you. You create room for better people, healthier environments, stronger habits, and opportunities that match the person you are becoming, not the person you are trying to escape. Walking away is not losing. It is choosing yourself. It is choosing peace. It is choosing evolution. One of the biggest reasons people stay stuck, small, and overlooked is because they spend their entire lives apologizing for simply being here. They soften their voice, shrink their personality, dim their strengths, and silence their truth just to avoid upsetting anyone. But here's the truth. Every time you apologize for who you are, you erase a piece of your power. Every time you hold back what you want to say, you reinforce the idea that your voice does not matter. Every time you step aside so someone else can feel comfortable, you teach yourself that your needs don't deserve space. You have to stop doing that. You have to stop apologizing for being confident, for thinking differently, for wanting more, for dreaming bigger than the people around you. You are not taking anything away from anyone by stepping into your own greatness. You are not hurting anyone by having ambition, standards, or boundaries. You are not wrong for wanting a life that actually inspires you. People who are intimidated by your confidence will always make it seem like you're too much, but the truth is they are simply too little for the version of you they cannot control. People who depend on your silence will always accuse you of being difficult the moment you start speaking up. People who benefited from your lack of boundaries will always call you selfish the moment you enforce them. But that's their problem, not yours. You have every right to exist without shrinking. You have every right to speak without fear. You have every right to take up space in your home, in your job, in your relationships, in your dreams, in your life. When you stop caring what people think, you begin to realize how much of your life has been shaped by their expectations instead of your own desires. You start noticing how often you've been molding yourself to fit into places you've outgrown. You begin to understand that the reason was never the world. It was the version of yourself you created to keep others comfortable. Owning your space doesn't mean being loud, aggressive, or arrogant. It means being whole. It means not cutting off parts of yourself just because someone else prefers a smaller, quieter version of you. It means standing firm in your values, your truth, and your vision even when others don't understand it. It means giving yourself permission to be exactly who you are without asking for approval first. And the moment you do that, something powerful happens. Your aura changes. You stop attracting people who feed on your insecurity, and you start attracting people who respect your strength. You stop seeking validation from those who never planned to give it, and you start validating yourself. You stop chasing acceptance and you start choosing alignment. This is the moment your life shifts. At the end of the day, you must understand something deeply, something that will change everything about the way you move, breathe, and live your life is not a democracy where everyone gets a vote. Your life is yours, and you owe it to yourself to walk it with strength, clarity, and unapologetic courage. You have spent years, maybe even decades, caring too much. Caring about people who never cared back, caring about opinions that never fed your soul, caring about expectations that were never meant to be yours, caring about validation from individuals who couldn't even validate themselves. But now it's time to let all of that go, because the moment you stop caring about the noise, the judgments, the whispers, the insecurities people project onto you, that is the moment you discover how powerful you truly are. That is the moment you reclaim your mental freedom. That is the moment you rise above the level of everyone who tried to keep you small. You finally understand that people will talk no matter what you do. If you fail, they'll talk. If you succeed, they'll talk. If you stay quiet, they'll talk. If you stand up for yourself, they'll talk even louder. So why care? Why let their voices drown out your destiny? Why allow their limitations to become your limits? You were not born to blend in. You were not born to be silent. You were not born to spend your one and only life trying to be acceptable, likable, or manageable. You were born to be real, be bold, be strong, be free. When you stop caring, you stop breaking yourself to fit into spaces you were meant to outgrow. When you stop caring, you stop overthinking every move and start living with conviction. When you stop caring, you stop letting emotions dictate your direction and start allowing purpose to guide your steps. You begin to move differently. You speak with certainty. You walk with a presence people can feel before you even say a word. You radiate the energy of someone who knows their worth and refuses to settle for anything less.